Hey Beacon, welcome home to your Bounce Back Blueprint Community Podcast, where you are challenged to be, do, and have God's best as you thrive on your journey from setback to success. I'm your Bounce Back Guide, Tiffany Huff Struthers, and I'll be guiding you on the journey by sharing tips, tools, and the tea on how I was able to bounce back from escaping death, healing from heartbreak, and finding hope in homelessness. And then I wrote an award-winning book all about it. And shout out to God, ever since I was courageous enough to share my story, my life and the lives of women around the world have been forever changed. And as a member of the Bounce Back Blueprint community, I'm called to teach you to do the same. So grab your journal and let's build this blueprint. Hey Beacon, hey! Thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Bounce Back Blueprint Podcast. It's your Bounce Back Guide here. And before we dig into building the blueprint this week, I want to bless you with, you got it, another one of our community's reviews. And I want to remind you that if you haven't already, please take a moment or two to leave a review, because when you do, you make it easier for other beacons just like you to find, be blessed by the podcast, and join the community, have their guide, and be on the road to bounce back blueprint success. This week's review is from K Country 31, and she says, "Thankful girl, this is awesome. When she is moved to share what she needs in the name of God, you're gonna hear it. And the way she talks, like it's right to me, like we're communicating right now, I'm in the room. I love the style of this podcast. I love Tiffany's heart, such encouragement, and also this no more excuses, let's do this kind of attitude. It's perfect for me." Thank you so much, K Country 31. Your review was perfect for me, and I pray that it is a blessing to someone else and leads them here to begin their bounce back journey. Now, today's episode is all about, we're going to remix it and say fall cleaning, because I recorded this when I wanted to provide some tips on spring cleaning for aspiring authors. But let's just be real. A lot of us didn't do any spring cleaning, and so we are still dealing with the same messes that were keeping us from writing our books earlier in the year. So I believe that this is still going to be timely for you, especially if you have continued to struggle with writer's block, which spoiler alert, is a myth. I am a firm believer that if you have something on your mind, you have something to write. However, if your mind is a mess, then it will be challenging for you to be able to write your best. And so grab your journal and tune into these 3 tips for spring, fall, summer, winter, or any other season cleaning when you are aspiring to write and feeling blocked. I believe you will be blessed by it. Spring cleaning for the aspiring author. So the first thing that you need to deal with your spring cleaning, the first thing you need to get rid of, right? A lot of times we talk about spring cleaning, we talk about decluttering. You know, you have your junk drawers, and some of us have shelves, right? So the first thing you need to declutter, you need to remove from under your bed, from on the shelf, from in the drawer, is unbelief. If you do not believe that you in fact have what it takes to become an author, then that is going to be your greatest block. Whether you are keeping a bestseller within you, or whether you are writing simply because you feel like it is an outlet for you. If you don't believe that you can in fact become an author, that you can in fact write your story, then that is where your writer's block is coming from right there. So I want you to start with unbelief. And you might say, "Oh, I believe in myself. You know, I love myself. I'm confident." But do you believe that you can write the book? Do you believe that what you have to share has value? Do you believe that your life and someone else's life will be changed by your writing and sharing your story, right? So you have to get rid of writer's block. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest step for your spring cleaning as an you have to get rid of unbelief, which is the foundation for your writer's block. The biggest thing you need to spring clean in your mind, in your environment, and in the way you live and move as an aspiring author in your journey to spring cleaning. And here is why. Because unbelief is the foundation, like I said, for writer's block, but it is also the foundation for two other things that are necessary when you think about spring cleaning. Unbelief lies dormant, right? It causes you to settle in places and in spaces and doing things that are less than what God has for you to do. And ultimately, you begin to settle and collect dust, right? So if you are old school, if you were raised by your grandmother, one of the things that she may have taught you to do when you clean is dust, right? And what happens when you don't deal with your unbelief is that it draws and attracts dust. And what dust does is it settles. And the more dust that settles, the more that it'll attract. And so you find that you have these thick layers of dust all over everything. And it stacks up on that unbelief, because unbelief is a breeding ground for settling and for collecting dust. And so your mind gets clouded with the dust. If you ever think about being somewhere where dust, like if a car speeds by and the dust rolls, comes up, it clouds your vision, right? So you don't have the clarity, you're confused, and thus you're going to feel blocked, which is why you have to start with the decluttering of the unbelief, and then you have to do the dusting. You have to be sure on a consistent basis that you are removing the unbelief so that that dust does not collect and you are not settling, right? And so you might be thinking that you're blocked, but really you're settling. You are allowing the dust to accumulate. You're allowing the lies, because you don't believe in yourself, to perpetuate this cycle of what you think is writer's block. But really, you have to do the work. You got to get that spring cleaning done. You're going to have to do the work to remove that dust, right? You're going to have to break through the dust to really get clarity around why you're not writing. And in many cases, I'm sure that it partially is unbelief, right? So you got to declutter the unbelief. You got to do the dusting. And then you got to clean out your closet. You know, a lot of times we want to clean out our closets because it's an opportunity for us to get new clothes, right? But I want you to really be mindful of this truth. When you don't declutter the unbelief, then your closet is full of clothing that is inappropriate for you. And what I mean by that is you are dressing as the unbeliever. So when you wake up in the morning, you're putting on things that are contrary to what someone who believes she is preparing to write a book would put on, right? So you're putting on garments that are covering up shame, right? And when you are going to share a personal story, if you can't get past the shame, then you're going to feel like you have writer's block, which is why you need to clean out your closet. What do you have in your closet that you consistently are pulling out and putting on to cover up shame, to cover up unforgiveness, to cover up the lies that people have told you about yourself? What do you have in your closet that you're wearing because someone else has prescribed to you that you are a certain type of person, or that you need to move and do certain things? If you don't deal with the unbelief, you will not be able to discern what's in your closet that's keeping you blocked and perpetuating the cycle that you are not going to write this book. And so I really want you to dig into this spring cleaning, because it is necessary if you are serious about finally writing your book. If you are serious about sharing your personal story that you know is not only going to help you heal and change your life, not only going to make an impact and create an income for you, but it's also going to impact some other people's lives. It's also going to kickstart their healing journeys. It's going to be transformational. If you really believe that, then you are going to have to do this spring cleaning. And don't keep telling yourself you'll start Monday. Don't tell yourself you'll start April 1st. Spring is here. It's time for you to do this work. Writer's block is a myth. However, if you don't do your spring cleaning, if you don't declutter the unbelief, if you're not willing to do the dusting so you can stop settling and get some clarity, if you're not going to be courageous enough to clean out your closet and recognize that you are dressing in clothes that are not for the aspiring author, and I mean that figuratively and literally, right? The way you walk out your door, the way you present yourself, the way you carry yourself, your mannerisms, the way you're speaking, the things that you are doing, right? Hey, ladies, if they are not decluttered, then you will continue to feel like you're blocked and you will continue to perpetuate the cycle. And writer's block is a myth. But here's the thing. You need to know that writing a book and breaking through writer's block is more inner work than actually sitting down to write. If you don't do the inner work and if you aren't willing to do the spring cleaning, then it'll be next spring, it'll be 2020, and you still be next year and you still will not have written the book. So I really want you to take some time and think about where, you need to do the dusting, where it is you need to declutter, and of course, where there is some unbelief that you need to deal with, and how, get honest about how these things are getting in the way of you actually writing the book and being categorized as you having writer's block when there's literally some work you need to do, and in fact some decisions you need to make. Do you really want to write this book? Do you really want to give God the glory by sharing your story? Are you ready to change your life and the lives of others with the power of your story? Somebody is certainly waiting for you to write the book. And in fact, even more people are waiting for the business that will be birthed as a result of you doing so. So let's get this cleaning done. Let's get rid of the stinking thinking. And if you need help, if you need support, I am here for you. You can click the link in the show notes and schedule your breakthrough call. I would love to work with you and help you to finally move from, feeling like you're blocked to a writer who is unblocked. And stay tuned. I'm going to have some training for you coming up really soon to help you with all of this. So in the meantime, of course, if you were blessed by this episode at all, please take a moment and leave a review, because when you do, you are supporting other beacons in finding this podcast and also community and a guide so that they are not walking alone. And of course, don't forget to hit me up on social, grab a screenshot, tag me. If you have any additional questions about this episode, you can DM me on Instagram or Facebook at the Tiffany Huff. Of course, my email is also in the show notes. I would love to hear from you. What else do you need? What questions do you have? Our next episode coming up is going to be so good, all about how to get started with writing the book today, right? And you're going to really, really be blessed by it. So thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing Saturday, and I will talk to you next week. Before I go, of course, I will leave you with this truth. God is not going to play you, but if you are not willing to do the inner work so that you can manifest something beautiful with your outer work in writing, you are definitely playing yourself. Be blessed.